What up, though? And welcome to the Curtis Steele Podcast, your trusted source for Detroit Lions news and rumors. On today's show, we speak with Eric Slitt, the managing editor at PrideOfDetroit.com, and Torrance Carter, aka LL Cool Torrance, from the Detroit Lions on the Proud YouTube channel. They give their thoughts on the Lions' chances of making the 2022 postseason. Make sure you follow the show over at KurtSteele.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at Curtis Steele 14. Buckle up, buttercups, and watch your kneecaps. It's time to start the show. Hey, welcome back to the show. We're here with Eric Slitt. He is the managing editor over at Pride of Detroit by SB Nation, one of the most popular Detroit Lions news and rumors site that's out there. So we're here to talk to you about the Lions. They're playing meaningful football in December for the first time since 2016. You've been in Allen Park.
Yep.
What is the buzz around the building surrounding what's going on with the team right now?
Honestly, they're trying to keep things as straightforward as possible. They're trying not to look too far into the future. They're trying not to start watching the scoreboards and the rank in the standings. And so they're just trying to keep things progressing on a day-to-day basis like they have been, because like you said, it has been a very meaningful, they're playing meaningful games in December because they had a really good November, and they want to keep that momentum going that they have established over the last 4 games.
I'm going to get to you in a second, but what are you hearing from the fans that visit your site and visit you on social media? What are they saying about the Lions' chances of making the playoffs?
I think the optimistic point of view is that the Lions have a path. And I think that's really something that you haven't seen here in Detroit in a while. And so fans are excited about that. But I also think that there's a dose of reality that fans are used to as well, and realizing that while there is a path, it's a tough one. And they have, with 6 games remaining, they'd have to be close to perfect in order to get into the playoffs. But in the NFL, anything happens. So I think fans are, optimistic, but also cautiously realistic as well.
Now we got to get to you, because as a fellow journalist, I know you're around the park with the team all the time, Allen Park, the Lions facility. You, as the person who's covered the Lions and a fan of the Lions, what do you think as far as a path to the playoffs for the Lions? Do you think it's realistic, or do you think that kind of reaching for the stars on this one?
I do think it's okay to reach for the stars, though, because it has been a long time since the Lions have played meaningful games in December. And that was the original goal of the organization. The first goal was to get to past Thanksgiving where games mattered. And so that's exciting. It's exciting to be able to cover. It's exciting as a fan. And so I do think that it's a really tough path, but it's an exciting one it's an exciting avenue to go down. So what do I think their chances are? It's probably somewhere in about 5 to 10% to be realistic. They'd have to win all, but they might be able to lose 1 game, and that's about it. And realistically, they may have to win out, because some of the NFC teams are starting to come on. The hard part is they've dug themselves in a pretty big hole with how they performed late September, early October. And while they have been playing in a manner that is very, it installs confidence in you, it's a tough road to be able to ask any NFL team to win 6 out of 6. Especially considering where they're at, especially considering that's more games than they've won over the first 12, right? So I do think the likelihood is low, but I am going to leave the door open, because that's the fun part about it.
All right. Hey, thanks again, Eric Slitt from Pride of Detroit, the managing editor over there. I appreciate you. How can they find your content?
PrideOfDetroit.com is the main source of content out there. We do a podcast through Pride of Detroit. I also have my own Lions podcast called Detroit Lions Breakdown. And both those platforms, or both those podcasts are on all the platforms that you can get your podcasts at. And then on social media, the easiest thing is at Eric Schlitt on Twitter.
All right. Thanks again. We'll be back to talk to my man, LL Cool Torrence of the Detroit Lions on the Prowl YouTube channel. Hey, welcome back to the show, people. I'm here with Torrence Carter, aka LL Cool Torrence from Detroit Lions on the Prowl. Now, I recently spoke with Eric Schlitt, the managing editor over at Proud of Detroit, and he said that even with all the excitement, the Lions being in second place in the division, but at 4-7, he gives them about a 5 to 10% chance of making the playoffs. What do you think about his assessment of the Lions making the postseason this year?
I don't think that's a bad assessment. I don't want to talk about playoffs, but that might be like the best assessment that I've heard. Like a lot of people, it's, we still can make the playoffs. If everybody else lose and we find the dragon scale and we take it to Magellan, all this other kind of craziness. But
right,
but no, that's accurate, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Now, you over there on your YouTube channel, you have your guests leave comments and they react. How do you gauge what the viewers on your channel are saying about the Lions' potential to make the playoffs?
Oh, if we win and they lose and we find the breast milk of a virgin and all that kind of stuff, it's along. Some of them is along those lines, and some of them, it's a mixed bag. It's some of the, some of the hoo-ha's and some of the not so hoo-ha.
Okay. And so looking at the Lions record, now I want to break some stuff down to you before you give your answer, just to make sure you have an educated guess of prediction. Okay, Lions are 4-7, right? You have 3 teams in the NFC East that are all holding the current playoff wildcard spots. Because you got Dallas, then you have the Giants, who we've already beat, and the Washington Commanders, who the Lions have already beat. Because we're talking Detroit Lions here on the Kurt Steele podcast. Your trusted source for Detroit Lions news and rumors. But looking at this, right? If the Lions can run the table or at least win 5 out of the last 6 games, you have a lot of those NFC East teams still haven't even played each other yet. So you can cancel some of those guys out. If for all of the perfectness of what needs to happen, what is your true blue assessment of how the Lions can make the playoffs, or their chances of them making the playoffs this year?
If the game plan is to make the playoffs or to try as hard to make the playoffs, then they're going to have to do that. I feel like that maybe they should have called the end of that Thanksgiving game just a little bit different. If that's the goal, so if that's the goal, then I expect to see, a game plan set to that. I don't know if we're going to make it. But because I don't really want to focus on what everybody else got to do. So if we win and we do whatever the hell we got to do and we fall in that spot, then that's great. I come on the show. I probably wear a shirt, but I act real crazy for y'all, if that's what y'all want. But, no, I don't know. If it's likely, it can happen if the stars align and it happen. I'm a big believer in the universe making things happen. So stranger things have happened probably. So if they're going to do it, I want to see it on the field. I want to see us look like we actually trying to do it. And if we actually make it, then I feel like we have a better chance in the thing. Because, that's how it normally go. Like a team that's fighting to get in there, they're usually hotter than a lot of the other teams. They can catch some of the other teams sleeping, as they say. So
okay, definitely. All right. Thank you for joining me right here on the Kurt Steele podcast. How can they find you on social media?
You can follow me on YouTube at Detroit Lions on the Prowl and Lions Nation United as well. Catch us on the app, baby.
All right. Thank you for joining me. My man, LL Cool Torrence, man. Stay tuned. We'll be back to close out the show. Thanks to Eric Schlitt of SB Nation's ProudOfDetroit.com and LL Cool Torrence from Detroit Lions on the Prowl for sharing their thoughts on if the Lions can make the 2022 postseason. Follow us on your favorite social media platforms and as the guests as well. They will appreciate the follow. This is Kurt Steele, and I will holla at you real soon.